Hello, welcome back. Today we'll be talking about a series that took over the world, starting in the mid-aughts to the mid-tens. A series that ruined Comic-Con, changed it for the worse, creating those notorious long lines. A series that inspired other shows, movies, and genres. If you had guessed, it's Twilight. Twilight is a series that's always annoyed me because it's full of wasted potential. I am making this video to campaign for any streaming service from Netflix to Hulu to Roku to even Peloton. I just need someone to create all these series I will be suggesting in this video. Before we get into the video today, remember to like, comment, and subscribe below as your support would go a long way. This video is sponsored by my last video where I did a breakdown on the major plot hole in Spider-Man No Way Home and how they used nostalgia to cover it, so remember to check that out. Anyway, back to the video. Twilight was a series of romance novels written by Stephenie Meyer in 2003 after she had a dream of a vampire, named Edward, who thirsted for a teenager's blood, Bella. This turned into 5 main series books and 5 movies. I haven't read Midnight Sun yet, which is a retelling of the first book as told from Edward's perspective, so I won't be mentioning it. During Twilight's peak, it was arguably one of the most influential pieces of media around, helping to revitalize the vampire and werewolf genre, leading the push of teen movies as well as other series such as the hugely successful 50 Shades of Grey, which is basically a Twilight fanfiction, and other romance books to movie adaptations. Twilight is a very expensive world Stephenie Meyer managed to incorporate a vampire royal family, changelings because Jacob's tribes aren't werewolves, werewolves, superpowers, and humans having the capability of killing vampires. That is a lot of world building for a really basic love triangle. These concepts need to be expanded upon in new series, and I will show you how. Let's start with Carlisle, the adopted father of the Cullens, known as the Olympic Coven, who was turned into a vampire at 23. Wait a second. 23? I'm sorry, but he does not look 23. Anyway, he is over 360 years old by the time we meet him in the story, and although we do have some flashbacks and background on him, there is definitely more to explore. His history leading up to the formation of his family is very interesting. He started as a very smart and compassionate man who is able to learn to resist human blood, even as he interacts with it during his double life as a doctor, becoming the world's foremost vampiric vegetarian. Now, a series could start on the day of his turning. This occurred after he was hunting down a coven of vampires he discovered living in the sewers of London, and leading a manhunt after them, resulting in him being turned into a vampire. After that, we could see the progression of him becoming a vegetarian as he tries to become a doctor, as he struggles being around all the blood. Through the seasons, we will then see his time with the Volturi, how his relationship with them soured, and how he left them to form the Olympic Coven. This could end with the events leading up to the Twilight series, and the reason why he had to come back to Forks. Speaking of the Volturi, they have probably the most potential for a series. Spinning off from the Carlisle series, we could see their history as they rose through the vampire society and the collection of their army. From the books and movies, we know they aren't the first vampire leaders, and that a war broke out, and hints that the collection of the vampires with superpowers by Arrow were the reason for their victory against the Romanian Coven, who were the original vampire leaders. Since vampires never age and never die, then the show can take place over the various time periods and the political turmoil as the vampires deal with vampire hunts in the 1600s, to the werewolf threat, to the world wars, and now as humans have developed weapons able to rival the vampires as a whole. This is important because it was shown that the Volturi weren't just scared of other vampires possibly rising against them, but also that the humans discovered their presence. A Volturi show could be the vampire version of Game of Thrones, as we deal with the intertwined personal conflicts amongst the various covens across the world and the humans who would be like the White Walkers of the show. The humans could be a big threat looming over the hidden, mystical world as they become more and more powerful, leading to a final conflict. But of course, Stephenie Meyer decided to focus on a creepy love triangle. Now, another great idea Stephenie had was to give some vampires individual superpowers. This opened up the possibilities of how to differentiate each vampire from one another. Though this does leave a lot of questions that need to be answered, such as why do some vampires have these powers? How do they develop? How powerful can they be? And how would different vampires use them? Now, I'm not saying we go full Twilight MCU, though I would be down for that. But just some lore building would be very interesting. We did see that Bella had her powers before she was turned into a vampire, but she didn't seem to have been able to attempt to control her powers, as it was just natural. Bella's powers were fairly simple compared to those of Kate, who has psychic electrokinesis, Saban with outcome manipulation, Zephrina with her visual projection, and Benjamin with his elemental manipulation. Yes, Benjamin has the powers of the freaking Avatar.
Water. Earth. Fire. Air.
All four of them, which we don't get any explanation why or how he got it. Just that he is slightly rebellious and his father hides him away. Where was he when the Fire Nation attacked, huh? Sorry, I went off on a tangent. But for real, Benjamin is very powerful and an interesting character. He alone deserves his own series exploring his past and how he will use his powers. For my final show idea, I suggest a story about Jacob, or at least his pack's history. In the beginning of the Breaking Dawn book, we spend multiple chapters exclusively from Jacob's perspective, as he deals with Bella finally marrying Edward, and eventually getting her true wish of never aging. Anyway, this shift of perspective was a breath of fresh air, and allowed for the true dynamics and struggle of the pack to be seen, displaying not just their connectedness, but also their power structure and struggles. We didn't see any of this in the movies at all. Now, although I would have loved to see that in the movies, I understand it wasn't very important to the main story, and they made up for it with that dream fight sequence with the Volturi that wasn't shown in the books. This does leave some concepts to explore more in depth though. In the first Twilight, Jacob explains how his great-grandfather discovered that the Cullens were vampires and how they came to an agreement with them. This could be expanded as we show Jacob's pack through the years. A full explanation differentiating them from werewolves and expanding upon their lore while putting Native American stories in pop culture. So those were my 4 pitches for shows based in the Twilight universe. I have loved this world, but have been greatly disappointed that Stephenie Meyer decided to focus on the most toxic and creepy and definitely not legal love story. Bella was 17 and in high school, while Edward was 104. Jacob imprinted on a baby, and Sam hit his fiancée, Emily, out of anger, leaving her scarred. But other than those worrying bits of the story, the world was expansive, and it is ripe to be explored. If you agree with me or have your own ideas, make sure to put them down below in the comment section. Remember to like and subscribe for more content like this. See you soon. By the way,
911. Officer, right there. FBI, come on in, fella.
I believe Stephenie Meyer should 100% be arrested for all the weird things in this franchise, wasting the potential of this world, and finally, for approving this. What is this atrocity? I'm just saying. Bye.